welcome to Piccadilly Talks. I'm your host, Angelique Vertue. My guests today are Mr. Damion Chippy, and yes, his last name is Chippy, and he's of Chippy Tutoring Services, as well as Sharon Burnett, and she's the Deputy Director of the Overseas Examinations Commission. Good day. How are you doing?
Not bad.
We're very excited to have this conversation today about global education and cultural exchange. And I wanted to start with you, Ms. Burnett, because ever since I was much younger, which was just the other day, you know, I've thought of myself as a global citizen, very Jamaican, but having access to global stages, global spaces, and global thinking. How does the OEC position itself for young people who think that way, that I'm not just preparing for my country, but I'm preparing for a global environment?
Well, I suppose the OEC got its start 136 years ago as the provider of international qualifications. Cambridge and London GC exams were the exams to do.
Wow.
And that continues to today. Now, perhaps the majority of our students in Jamaica would be prepared for the Caribbean Examinations Council, which is not a Jamaican exam, it's a Caribbean exam, but it's an internationally recognized exam. So whether you're going to be doing Cambridge, or you're going to be doing London, or you're going to be doing CXCs, Cape or CSEC, when you're done, you're ready for anywhere in the world.
And that's so important, because what we want to do, Mr. Chippy, Mr. Damion, is to make sure that as we create products and services for young people, that we're encouraging that kind of global thinking. How is it that, before I ask you how your company does that, how did you get into the business of tutoring? Tell us a little bit about your work.
Well, from the age of 17, I can remember, I always have this, liking towards teaching. I like to, because the thing is that it helped me. I'm not this person where I like to sit down and read and whatever, but the more I help people, the more it helps me.
Oh, you're a teach the teacher kind of person.
Yeah,
okay.
So I go to university like that. I mean, I help my fellow peers without me have to go home reading, whatever. No, I enjoy doing that because it do a lot for me. Not only that, I get feedback from, whoever I'm teaching, okay, the way ideas and all of that. So it's really good for me.
So it was very organic for you to go into the business of tutoring.
Very well. And not only my family, father side of family, that is, mainly teachers.
You run in your family?
Yes.
So you're continuing the family tradition.
There you go.
When you encounter students in your business, how is it that what you offer prepares them for the global environment that we now live in?
All right. Now, as it is, as Ms. Burnett said, we mainly do Caribbean exams. However, truth be told, it's very recognizable because most of the clientele, the students who come by CTS, many of them are looking to go overseas, whether the United States, Canada, or England. And as based on my experience, the exam accreditation do very well for them to get into the university of choice. Yes. So
what we have here locally, especially as proctored through the OEC, is definitely meeting the global standard. It's hitting all the marks for our young people to be able to access those larger spaces. But, Ms. Burnett, outside of preparing for formal education, for advancing to the next level and the next level in academic pursuits, our young people have to also be prepared for different kind of cultural experiences. That while Jamaica's culture is rich and engaging and globally known, that we also have to understand how we have to be able to exchange. When you think about education, moving away from core OEC proctoring services and more, I would say, I don't know if it's softer educational skills or less academic, how do you suggest that a young person begins to prepare themselves for the different cultures that they will have to encounter as they pursue this kind of global environment?
You know, each child, of course, has a different personality and a different way of engaging with the world. There will be some children, some students that will never leave the shores because they're that sort of, but there's some who are just brimming for the next experience. And so what I would encourage parents to do is to engage their children in these things that are wider than our local borders. How would it be to go to Spain? How would it be to go to France to see the Eiffel Tower and so on? Can we speak when we go there? Would you love to have that? Would you? I think it begins at home, or it should, because what it does, it then prepares the entire family to be ready in case this happens, rather than that child comes in from school, no, we have to learn today, mommy, we can go on, so, and then you are shocked and say, oh, my child is going to go away. I think if you encourage that in the family and they get from you that you will support them in whatever they want to do, I think that's critical to it. I think you want to have your child open their mind, and that's why reading is such a wonderful thing. It takes you to different places, and then you encourage them to say, well, you know, if you want to, we could do this. This, I think, is critical for the current student, because we are not preparing students in school to just be in Jamaica, you know. We export teachers, we export nurses, we export all sorts of skills. So our schools understand that our reach is global. And so the parents and the children need to think outside of the Jamaican box and prepare themselves for it, because the system allows that. And once they are mentally ready for it, they can go anywhere that they want to go, and that's what we have to do now.
Once we're mentally ready, we can go anywhere. A thought comes to me, Mr. Chippy, culture shock. Have you ever experienced culture shock, and what did you do to come back to your center?
Okay. Well, yes, I have. I remember the first time visiting New York, Manhattan to be exact. When I exit the train station and I see everybody in this running mood, like nobody's walking. I stand there. The pace everybody's going, like, to get to where they want to go. It amazed me, because in Jamaica, I've never seen that before. And I kid you not, I stood right there in the middle of Times Square.
Just outside of Grand Central, just staring at passers-by.
Just observing how everybody is like, I don't know if they've been actually, you know, teach our course in doing this. It's just so amazing. I said, wow, everybody seems to be in a hurry. And I'm just there looking, and my friend said, Chippy, you can't stand up in the road like that. So it's like, when I get to myself, I just start to walk quickly and briskly with the flow.
Yes. But what was the lesson for you, you know, as you stood there, you had that moment, you now are able to look back and say that was a moment of culture shock. What do you think is the lesson there for a young person who is thinking of branching out and having those big thoughts and big ideas about where they want to go? What would you say from that lesson?
From that lesson, I must say, really, we need to expose our young people. Truth be told, though, I must tell you, many of them are already exposed from in their home, not because of parenting, because of the fact that information is so much at their fingertip. There is I remember a child, they have never traveled before, but he has this illusion in his head that he traveled America, England, and the truth be told, when he speak, as a teacher, I can, you know, if I didn't know any better, I would believe every word he said. You understand me? He's speaking about the culture that he experienced, which is also aligned with many of the cultures that these different places are aware of. So the students are quite aware of the different culture. They're becoming less shocked. Unlike me, who, you know, technology in my time going to school, I never have that access to technology. Okay, you have social media, you have all of these things. Students are being aware of the different cultures. So it's becoming less of a culture shock based on my experience with dealing with kids on a day-to-day basis compared to what I experienced when I went to New York at first.
Yes.
You understand me?
It's a different time.
It's a different time.
It is a different time. Miss Burnett,
Yes.
as we, and I agree, it is a different time. We are more exposed to different cultures. We have bigger thoughts. Our young people, I do not feel as much apprehension as the generation before. How do we hold on to our identity, even as we have these different kinds of cultural experiences? You know, we go with our, you know, proper qualifications, and we're in these big cities that we feel much more familiar with. How do we, and do you think it is important to hold on to what makes us Jamaican, what makes us who we are?
Because I really do think that being able to navigate these strange spaces is going to happen because of who you are. Yeah? You're going to hold on to what you know, what is familiar. And what you must do is look for the similarities, for the things that you can, you know, relate to, while you're absorbing the things that are so very strange. Because the experience, once you're in situ, it's personal. Whereas when you're watching it on TikTok, it's removed. You understand? When you're in the middle of it, then it becomes very personal. And I think you asked Damion a question. What made you, what was your center?
Yes.
Yes, they have that center, that sense of self, that sense of Jamaica, and I'm indomitable. I can do anything. Metalawa.
Right.
You understand? And so they will navigate. That is important to them, to help them to be able to navigate. Once again, it's gonna have to do with that sense of self that they have, and that groundedness in being Jamaican and being able to manage no matter what life throws at
We
you.
start from
I
the
think
home.
that's intrinsic.
Home
Yeah.
and school.
Home and
Absolutely.
school is where
Yes,
it
Yeah, yeah.
starts.
that's where it starts.
And the things that we do in the home, just to reiterate, we encourage our children. We have them read books that
Yes.
take them to places in their minds.
Absolutely.
And in the schools, those global, those exchange programs, those
Yes.
programs
Yes.
where they're able to collaborate with and
Yes.
visit other countries should be encouraged.
Yes,
Absolutely.
it is.
Those
Absolutely.
competitions that take them
Out.
outside, sports,
Yes.
our robotics experts.
Because I was about to say that,
Absolutely.
because one of my students was I think he was the lead engineer on the robotics team the other day in Singapore.
Yes.
You
look
understand
at
me?
that.
So it really do well for him. He's excited and tell the other kids about it.
Yes.
Tell him what his experience was like. You understand me? And talk about some of the culture that he come
Yes.
across. And so it's really good.
So those co-curricular activities, those activities in schools that encourage healthy competition that takes our children overseas, are ways in which we help to prepare them. Help to
Absolutely.
prepare them. I want to wrap up this conversation by coming back to core education. And by asking you both to take this question. When you think about how global expectations have changed, how persons have found success without, and I think we touched on this in season one, how there are some persons who have found good success, it seems, you know, without focusing on academia. What is the position of both of you as persons who are offering formal education courses to students who have a very global, digitally oriented outlook on what it takes to be a success?
Can I go first?
Yes,
All
Chippy.
right. All right. Truth be told, you hit the nail on the head when it, you know this. Although we are on this whole academia approach, but the reality is, what I do is teach my kids how to do critical thinking, how to be a problem solver, irrespective of where you are, where you go, the profession that you're in. It doesn't matter what, you're in the business of solving problems. And I tell them the difference between people who are problem solvers as against people who just only take directive no matter what. They can't do nothing else without directive. There's a big contrast between those type of people. And again, since we're moving in such a global space, the world is more unified with this global platform. So the truth is that they have to navigate themselves You understand? I explained to them my first time being in New York. I went on a train. The first, I came to New York in Sunday night, and on the Monday, I'm on the train. You understand me? My friend's gone to work. I now have to navigate my way around, reading.
You have to solve a problem.
Whatever. And it was so, I enjoy doing it. Yes, and I go many places. When I come back in the evening and tell my friends about my day, they were shocked. Many of them said, it took me 3 months before I can do what you did. You understand me?
Yeah.
So it's very important to develop this problem solving, critical thinking. And it's so amazing how much, no matter what sphere you are, you're able to navigate yourself in regards to this global world as we speak of.
Yes.
But isn't that real education? Because education is not just book learning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, and that's a challenge that even in Jamaica, a lot of organizations, when they employ people, they come with the MBAs, with the 4.0 average,
There you go.
and then they don't have any use at the workplace because all they know is to spit out the thing. They can't socialize. They're not empathetic. The softer skills are lost. Education is not just book learning. Education is learning how to respond to and live in society, interfacing with people, interacting with people. And there are skills that may not appear on a diploma. But if you don't have them, you're not educated. Because you need to know how to behave where.
Thank you.
You need to know what is appropriate when. Those are, that's a part of your education, and that's the part that's going to help you to behave globally.
And that's what sets you apart in the
Absolutely.
global landscape.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
I believe that's a wonderful note on which to end. I want to say a big thank you to Sharon Burnett. She's the Deputy Director here at the OAC, and Damion Chippy of Chippy's Tutorial Services Limited. Thank you both for joining us here on Piccadilly
pleasure.
Talks.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Angelique. Until next time, walk good.